Do you actually have to be on cocaine to be on this podcast?
It's a great day to be a Wildcat!
Durfing?
What's up, everybody? You're listening to yet another edition of Cocaine Willie. I am your commissioner, Bob Trollsby, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, the good chef, Andre Napier, and Fireball Matt Marchesini. And with football's regular season behind us, this week we're going to do something a little bit different, where we're going to talk a little bit about men's hoops, maybe a little bit about women's hoops. They're on a heater right now. And we're going to do our championship week locks, which we're also going to do a little bit different. We're going to pick every single championship week championship for every single P5 and G5 conference. And I'm going to say P5 as long as I can until it's the P4 next year. But we haven't talked about hoops all that much yet this season. I want to get into it because it's been an interesting season so far. I think one of the biggest stories for this team coming into this year was they were able to have this, preseason trip to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Israel, where they're able to bond as a team. I think they get the opportunity to do that once every couple of years as a staff to take the team somewhere else. And what I was hoping for was for them to have an opportunity to bond and build some chemistry, knowing that we've got this Elite Eight run that we're coming off of. We've got some good transfer guys coming in, and Arthur Kaluma, Tyler Perry, Quez Glover, Will McNair, all these guys. And hopefully it would give them an opportunity to gel a little bit more, because as we all remember from last season, it took a minute for this team to gel. They dropped an absolute clunker to Butler last year in non-conference in Indianapolis. So I was really looking forward to them having that experience and being able to gel while also having a much more formidable non-conference schedule than we've seen in years past, not just with Coach Tang, but the entirety of the Bruce Weber era, essentially. So I've been excited about the strength of schedule. You have a game that you open up against USC in Las Vegas. It definitely looked like there are a lot of kinks to work out. It seems like we've gotten in a better spot. And the wins have come to essentially no-name teams with the exception of Providence and South Dakota State. You can make the argument of South Dakota State's probably going to be a tournament team. They're probably going to win. What are they? The Horizon League. But it's just been an interesting season so far. What league are they in?
Are they Summit?
Are they Summit League?
Summit
League.
League.
It used to be Horizon, though. Like North Dakota State, South Dakota State all used to be Horizon. I don't know. Conference realignment at the FCS level is a strange thing. But I'm just curious, how are you feeling about the season so far, men's basketball-wise, through 6 games with wins against Providence, some shitty teams, and then losses to Miami and USC?
I would say the overall theme on this will be we don't know how good we can be until Naquan Tomlin is on the floor with these 4 other guys. The Central Arkansas game notwithstanding, that was a very, very bad team that we played. And it was great to see some of that young talent get a lot of minutes in that game. Guys especially like Buddy Rich, RJ Jones. Rich had 18 minutes in that game. RJ Jones, 21. Day-Day Ames played 26 minutes in that game. These are all huge, huge opportunities for these young guys because we are going to need that when we hit Big 12 play. We're going to need that type of bench if we are going to be able to put together a run in this conference. But truly, we're not going to really be able to see how good this team gels until we can see that offense run with Naquan Tomlin at the 5, the 4 or the 5. It's still, I feel, a little bit of a work in progress. I've said on the past show that we talked about hoops, it's very much a struggle when I watch Will McNair and David Gasson on the floor together because I don't think it fits the 5-out philosophy on the offensive side. I think David Gasson has played very well at the 5 with 4 guards, and he does a great job from a rebounding perspective. And the most recent games, he's been good, but you put him with McNair out there, it's a little bit of a struggle for me. Just watching the game of basketball. That's not a knock. I've seen the flashes from David Gasson. He has these athletic flashes, and he does things well, except shoot a 3-pointer or even a mid-range. And that's why I struggle with him at the 4. But the upcoming schedule is going to give us a really good taste as to what maybe we can expect in Big 12 play. But until Naquan Tomlin steps on that floor, I have a hard time judging where this team can go, because it just relies so much on having Arthur Kaluma and Tyler Perry show out, and you have Day as a good distributor. And I mean, as a freshman, I was not expecting to see this from Day, and I could easily have seen him maybe starting in Big 12 play if he continues to develop here very quickly. And that's, again, if Naquan is not on the floor. If we see, I would love to see him. I was thinking by the Villanova game. We have 2 games this week. Maybe we see him on Tuesday, December 5th. Doesn't sound like it. Jerome Tang made it sound like that wasn't going to happen when he spoke either yesterday or today to some of the media. But I'll tell you, the Villanova game would become a lot more interesting if we had a starting 5 that we expect to play in Big 12 play, just to be able to see what we can do. So I've been very high on this team. I like the athleticism. I like the young talent. I believe they're building a very, very good core nucleus right now. And Naquan's just that final cog that could really make me think, okay, this team's top 5 in the Big 12, or can this team contend in the Big 12?
Absolutely. Dude, you're spot on. All those assessments were valid. I'm not as high on Day Ames as maybe some people. I think him and Cam Carter, just watching them efficiently, their efficiency numbers, I don't have them in front of me, and I'm too lazy to look them up, but they can't be that efficient. They're just, they're a little turnovery and high volume guys. But this is what I'll say about the team so far through these few games. I think we tried to, through that USC game, I think we chatted a little bit about it. I think we kind of wanted to run what the offense is going to look like with Naquan back. We ran a lot of 5 out in that game. But after that, I think our offense has changed. I don't think we're running nearly as much as what the offense is going to be with Naquan, with the 5 out, everybody behind the 3-point line, getting to the lane, kickouts and stuff like that. I don't think we're running nearly as much as that as we want to. So I think the offense has changed, which means people's roles have changed. So will Gasson's just be the energy rebounder, wiry guy? Will he be that? I don't know if that's what his role is going to be when Naquan comes back. I'm not sure, but I think he is very good at that role. Will McNair, what will his role be when Naquan comes back and, assumes the 5 spot? Let's just say that he runs the 5 spot. Where's Will McNair? Because I don't think Will McNair necessarily fits the 5 out offense. I mean, he did drain a 3, in the Providence game, which was very surprising. And I mean, it was a good stroke. So, it's people's roles are going to have to change. Cam Carter, he's jacking him up. I mean, that's what coach said that he's going to have to do, but I think he needs to be more efficient. And Tyler Perry, his stroke is just not what we were promised. I don't know. At least through what we've seen right now, it's just not to the level that I thought he is. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. He's a very well-rounded player. I mean, he dishes the ball well. He rebounds extremely well for a smaller guard, and he'll fill it up. I think the 3 driving the basketball, he's a lot better at that than I thought he was, and he doesn't rely on that nearly as much as he should. And when you're playing Central Arkansas, you don't have to. We're going to dog walk that team. If it was all the freshmen out there, we're going to do that. So it's a little concerning that he's not making his open threes. And Arthur Kaluma, he's turning it on, but is that what we're going to see? Is that the player that we need him to be when Naquan comes back? It's all going to change when Naquan comes back. In my opinion, I think everybody's role is going to have to, and we're going to have to do that search for their roles and positions again, which is unfortunate because, this team is kind of gelling into what they are right now. And then you're going to have to tear them down again to build them back up. And will there be a rust factor before Big 12 play? And I don't want that to happen because all these non-con games, to what Bob said, these are challenging games, and you need some of them because you lost to Miami, you lost to USC. You need some of these games, these big name games, to go your way and get some of these dubs. So if you're constantly having to remodel your starting five, your team over and over again, it's going to be a little difficult to win those games. So
I guess my counter to that is this team has practiced even prior to Naquan's suspension. And especially, in the summertime, getting into the fall, I don't know if it's going to be as much of a transition period because you can tell the pieces of the offense are being run how Jerome Tang wants it to. The personnel changes, and there's always going to be, of course, a little bit of a transition from a personnel perspective, but I think it's just part of the execution piece of some of the shot making that having Naquan Tomlin out there, a guy who has just athleticism to get to the bucket, but also has shown the ability to shoot the basketball and made some threes last season. That's exactly what you're trying to get. And overall, you're just trying to be more efficient in that offense.
But what I would say to that is, what we've seen from the USC game, where I thought we were running the offense that we saw during the summer and the Israel trip and all that stuff, what we've seen recently is not that same offense. I don't think it's nearly the same thing. I don't think we're running a lot of post gives. We're giving Will McNair a lot of touches down there. Gasson touches on the block. I don't think it's nearly the offense that we were running with Naquan there. So I don't know if they've given up on running that offense with the pieces that they have, because when they were in Israel, Will McNair was not there. Quez Glover was not there. So, and obviously Quez Glover is hurt, but it's just, I don't know if we're ready to, I don't know if they're ready for the return of Naquan and to run as smoothly as I think you think we're going to. I just don't see it happening. I don't think you could throw a piece in there into the starting five and just say, hey, roll the ball out there. Let's go.
I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that, but I think what Naquan has shown in the past year, that sometimes talent can take over some of those pieces, some of those things that might be missing. And there are definitely some plays, thinking about it this season. I mean, plays is hard, but stretches of time in games where if you had someone like him who's able to really stretch out some of the big men on those other teams, and you have a threat of a mid-range jumper or a 3-point, you can get, that's where I think, there will be a little bit of rust, but sometimes if somebody's talented, so talented, I mean, I'm not saying Naquan Tomlin's a first-round pick, but he's a talented player, and he's growing into himself, and you see these flashes, and he can make a difference. Does he make a difference for the USC game? I felt with just how poorly we shot in that game, it would have been closer of a game. Who knows if we would have won. The Miami game is definitely a little bit more interesting because, albeit Nigel Pack went off in that first half, but we needed a little bit more inside because Miami's big man, was just really kind of destroying us in many ways. So it's going to be very interesting when he comes back. And Quest Glover is going to be another guy who, I mean, can he be maybe a Desi Sills 6-man type of guy that provides this energy from the guard position? Or maybe it's a guy like Buddy Rich. I mean, man, that I know we were playing Central Arkansas, but he has little flashes of things that Bill Walker did just from an athleticism perspective. And I think I believe he's got a ton of potential. And if you need somebody who's going to be an active, athletic rebounder,
just go get her guy.
Yes, he's going to be huge for maybe 8 to 10 minutes off the bench in the Big 12 game. He was one that I was wanting to see out there more and more. And we got to see it in that game. And Central Arkansas was very overmatched, but Buddy Rich had flashes that you're like, wow, this guy needs to be on the floor.
Here's what I'll say to the Naquan thing, and we can kind of get off it because we haven't seen him, this year. But what I've seen that he could change to the positive, we want to play fast. Outside of Tyler Perry, Day Ames, and sometimes Arthur Kaluma, we don't have a guy that can grab the ball and go. Because David Kassan tries to do that, and that's not his game. Arthur Kaluma, he grabs a lot of rebounds and they go. They dish it out. But most of the time, they grab that rebound and they're going out, passing it to Tyler Perry to go. Naquan Tomlin changes it to where he could lead the break. We've seen it multiple times last year where he can grab the board and lead the break, which I think is more conducive to the 5 out. Because if Tyler Perry, Arthur Kaluma, Cam Carter are on the court with Naquan Tomlin, doesn't really matter who the 4 is. Maybe David Gasson because he's a great, floor runner to the basket, look ahead guy. But if Naquan's on the floor and he grabs a rebound, they could push it wide. Everybody goes to a 3-point line. And if it's a center or a power forward that has to stay in front of Naquan Tomlin on a break, and all these other guys are having to get guarded at the 3-point line, it's a total game changer. We don't have that right now. We want to play fast, and Coach Tang has admitted that he wants us to be faster, but we don't have the guys at the big spot to do that. And once we get, that's where I think you immediately can roll the ball out to Naquan and say, grab that rebound, go. And look for a Perry in the corner. Look for a Cam in the corner, passing him, cut to the basket, whatever. I think a lot of things changes once he gets back for our break, but it is going to take some time, I think, because, it's just a rhythm thing, especially in our set plays of the offense that we try to run.
So Matt, you said which game you would like to have him back for in Villanova, ideally. When do you think, realistically, we get Naquan Tomlin back? Which game is his first game back?
See, it's funny because being at the Central Arkansas game and seeing him on the bench.
Yeah, you were breaking news reporter of the day.
Yeah. Kansas City Star should hire me. I would have said tomorrow, just because he's out there on the bench. I know an ankle injury was said, which if that's the case, I mean, I figured if he had an ankle injury, we would have heard about it, even if he was suspended or not. I'm going to say Villanova. If he's able maybe to get back to practice by the end of this week, something along those lines, the Villanova game, whether he plays 10 minutes in that game, that would be huge and could easily be the difference in that type of game, because that is the biggest remaining game on the schedule right now, especially a ranked team at home. So I'm going to say Villanova and be very probably wrong, but I'm hoping.
That's a great guess. And I that's where I would want him back, because, between here and then, there's really not much competition. I think, what do we have? We have the Oral Roberts game and the North Alabama game to, games that we're paying them to be here. So we should win those games. We'll be 20-point favorites basically in both of those. Villanova would be great, but I don't see that happening. It's just the way Tang talks about it, he's just so cold about it. I don't see that happening. Villanova's a lot better than I thought they were going to be this year. They're actually
because they dropped the opening night game to what?
Yeah.
Penn?
Yeah, Penn. And they're salty. They're a really physical bunch. Their coach is a real physical guy, and he that's what he demands. And the atmosphere is going to be great no matter if Naquan's there or not. So it's going to be tough for them to, scratch one out in Bramlage. But I think realistically, the next biggest game, and they're a sneaky 7-0, is Nebraska. And is that in the Sprint or is that at home?
That's at home. And Nebraska's currently 46th in KenPom. They're the second best team remaining in the non-conference for us.
Yeah,
behind Villanova.
Yeah, I think Nebraska is a team that I would love to. I mean, that gives him a full month. Because that game is on the 17th of December. So that gives him a full month, basically, because he kind of, he's on the bench. He's kind of with the team again. So that gives him a full month to get ready. I would love to see him back for Nebraska. And to your credit, Matt, if he's there for 10 minutes for Villanova, that's better than nothing. But I kind of would want him, if he's in there, if they're going to give him some minutes, let him just be full time, baby. Is he back from his suspension or not? So
does he have an ankle injury or not? The dude, to your point, Chef, was carrying turkeys for a charity thing he was doing with Coach Dowling. So who knows?
He seemed fine. He's carrying heavy turkeys going through Dillon's to get where I don't know, where was he at? Where was he buying those turkeys
Dillon's
from?
or Walmart or whatever it was.
Yeah. So I believe that he might have an ankle injury. Who am I to say that? I don't know. So, but Nebraska is where I'd want him back full go, full stop. If we drop Villanova, we drop Villanova, but I want him back for Nebraska. That's a big game. It's a big game.
It is. We've been playing them for over 100 years. Nebraska's a massive game. Here's my thought process. I would love for him to be back, and this is going to drop Thursday, so Oral Roberts game would have already happened. I would have loved for it to be Oral Roberts or North Alabama, just so he can get tuned up and ready if we need him for Villanova or Nebraska or LSU, which is a pretty grueling 3-game run of 3 games in a row. Also at Baton Rouge, and they're still a top 75 team in KenPom, which
that reminds me of.
That's better than the worst team in the Big 12 right now.
That reminds me of the Cal game last year.
Sure,
that one was it's a team that we thought we should handle. We were up big, and then they kind of gave us a little fright down the end. As I could see the game at LSU being the exact same way.
Better not. Oh my God. I'll burn that down. LSU is not a very good team. I will say that.
They're better than Cal was last year.
Exactly. But we played Cal the second game of the season.
That's true.
And you're 4-2, 6 games. Yeah, but 6 games make a difference. It really does. And Cal was obviously not a great team, but LSU has lost at home to Nicholls State. That is a game, despite it being on the road. Road games are always difficult, no matter what sport. But that is a game that if you think you will be able to contend for a top 5 in the Big 12, I know it's LSU, but it's a road game. You're going to have to win your road games against better teams than LSU when we get to Big 12 play. So I'm hoping it's a good test
in that game.
And I'm hoping that we see some of the execution of the offensive side. I know we'll probably maybe get into, some of the defense maybe or whatever, but that's a game that's going to be pretty important to kind of prove a point, I think, of, okay, this is what we have, minus one person, but LSU's not a good team. They're not going to be a good team in the SEC this year.
If you, what about Matt? You just brought up the defense. Bob, I don't know if you were about to lead into that question, but what about the defense? I mean, it's all right. I mean, that defending the 3-point line has been kind of weird. I feel like that first game in that USC game, it brought an energy that I thought we were going to see throughout the year, and it just hasn't been that. I don't know if that was just that opening game, we're going to fight tooth and nail, whatever, but I think the defense has left a little bit to be desired, but we don't have the lengthy, nearly 7-footer in the middle either. So
I think the biggest improvement on defense for one player has been Cam Carter.
Oh,
and how he has developed into it. It's hard to call a player a lockdown defender, but he's been really, really good on the defensive side of the basketball this year. It's crazy.
He's been good across the board, I would say.
He's
improved tremendously from last year.
Cam has been. I was not expecting to see Cam Carter averaging 16.5 points a game and to just be as good of a defender as he's been this year. He's really pestered guards, and having somebody like that as you go through this non-conference schedule and when you get into Big 12 play, of having somebody who's your key guy at the guard position especially is absolutely huge. And so I give him so many props because he showed some flashes last season, but he was definitely obviously overshadowed by many players on this team. But there were some small flashes, I think, of like the Michigan State game where he had some big shots in that game and had some really good defensive plays in that game. And now it's
Iowa State on the road.
Iowa State on the road. He's absolutely right now showing that him and Tyler Perry and, whoever's going to play point, if it's going to be Tyler Perry, maybe it'll be Day, who knows, but you can play Cam at the 2, the 3, and you're getting really great execute. Like, he's just turned into a player that is kind of a great monster, 3-headed monster with the other 2 right now. So he deserves all the props. He's been really great.
Defensively, he's been an A. I mean, him on Nigel Pack was good until they took him off of him, and then he got like a little spotty because he wasn't the sole defender on Nigel. Other than that performance, he's been an A on defense. Offensively, I mean, just for me, and like I don't know the efficiency numbers, but he's just not very efficient. It's just like that's when you give somebody the green light, especially in college. This isn't the NBA format where like there's no defense being played in the regular season. Like, he's getting defended on basically every shot, and when you give a guy a green light, 50% of the time he's not going to make the shot, because if you're shooting 50% from the field, you're pretty fucking good, especially at the guard. And then on top of that, he's taking shots that he usually, most coaches would not want him shooting. So it just, for me, efficient wise on offense, I think he would be way better if he was actually in like of a set, get a screen, young fella, get something to help you out, because it's just driving to your left hand and forcing it up with your right. It's not always the best look because he's going to miss those shots a lot, and I don't know what he probably is way more efficient than I'm giving him credit for, but it's just the look of it. It's not very efficient, and I don't know how that's going to go the rest of the season if we're going to do that.
He's leading our team in field goal percentage, 42%. Just above Tyler Perry.
Wow, he's better than Arthur Kaluma in field goal percentage?
Yeah.
Wow,
he's leading our team in field goal percentage.
Doinks. Okay, I apologize, Cam. I'm sorry. I don't know ball.
And he's seventh in the Big 12 in scoring right now.
Okay, that makes. I mean, the scoring numbers are going to be there. He's gonna put the ball in the hoop. But I just, I feel like it could get a little, unhinged when he start, driving to the basket with no plan.
AKA like Arthur Kaluma.
And he does that too.
I wonder if we can come up with a nickname for Arthur Kaluma's shot fake, because his is very distinctive.
Oh yeah, who was the guy for
Jabari Rice?
Yes, for Texas, he throw the ball up there. Yes, I love that shit. I like it,
dude. But they bought it every time.
It looks exactly like his shot. His jumper is exactly like that. It's like way up here, and then he lets it go. I mean, it works. But he always goes to the right, though. Like, he never, stepped through to the left.
Never stepped through, yeah. I mean, I would absolutely get owned trying to defend him, but at least I would know prior, hey, this is probably what he's going to do, so maybe I should just try that.
Okay, I want to play a game real quick, Bob.
Sure.
Okay, it's just a quick expectations. Were they met? Were they exceeded? Or were they not exceeded? I don't know how to name this game, but we're gonna play it. All right. So let's go through the starting five,
games, right? And then
through 6 games.
Because I also want to think about whole non-conference, like with the remaining 7 games. Where do you think we end up? I would say expectations are met, knowing that Naquan Tomlin was out prior to the season starting. I feel like if Naquan Tomlin is part of the team when the season starts, maybe expectations are not met and the USC and the Miami games are a little bit more competitive. But I'm a little bit surprised that those games were as competitive as they were, especially Miami in the second half. Because the first half was not competitive, but the second half became a lot more competitive. I'm surprised that game was as competitive as it was without Naquan Tomlin in the game. So that's what I'll say is, knowing that Naquan 2 days before the season started was not going to be playing for however long, I would say expectations are met for where we probably the 3 of us thought the season would end up through 6 games. No,
I mean, I was pretty high on this team. I mean, I'm still probably the most optimistic person, K-State fan, you're going to meet about this team right now. But I had said we're going to lose 1 game in a non-conference. And I had said that at the beginning of the season. I thought we would beat USC.
No, you did. He did say that. He did say
I believe it. Yeah.
The game that I said we were going to lose is at LSU.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
Yes, it was.
I did say that. So I'm going to say, from the starting 5 perspective, I'm going to say expectations not met. And here's my reasoning. I think some of the preseason talk about Tyler Perry, like he has these flashes, like he's a very, very, very good player. But you're hearing the things of best shooter in America, blah, blah, blah. Yes, he's like 5th leading scorer in the Big 12. So you can look at that and be, yeah, I mean, he's scoring the basketball. That's great. He's averaging 38% right now. And that's not great unless you're a high volume shooter, which with a full strength of a full nucleus together, you cannot expect that he's going to be like that, because you have other guys that are going to need the basketball. And so that's one reason. Arthur Kaluma, he's coming on right now, but at the beginning of the season, you're like, what's going on here? And, he had that very bad effort in the whatever game. I can't remember. South Dakota State.
He didn't play that game, did he?
No, he didn't play that game. It was the one before that.
Yeah, he wasn't brought in yet.
Right.
And if your coach is making a comment like that, that's a problem. So, but then you can say Will McNair would have never expected he would be the player that he's been.
This is how I wanted to play the game. I wanted to just go through the list. So I keep going, but this is how I wanted to play it. I wanted to name off a player, and it's
So Will McNair, I absolutely I thought he was going to play very minimal minutes and be a guy that if we are facing another team with a big center, he's going to give us 4 fouls in this game. He's going to be a body. He's very much exceeded that to where he can be a role player in this team. David Gasson, he's averaging 8 and 8. I mean, that's pretty good.
Jarrell Colbert on defense with those blocks that he's had.
Yeah.
Let's okay, but you've gone through the starting 5. Where do you for your start for the 5, Bob? Are they for Tyler Perry exceeded or not exceeded or did not exceed?
I don't think. I mean, Tyler Perry hasn't exceeded my expectations because
he hasn't met him.
He was so vastly overhyped by Tang just all off season.
Okay.
Cam Carter has exceeded my expectations for sure because he was averaging 6 points a game last year, and he's averaging 16 now. And to Matt's point, kind of fits that lockdown defender archetype, which is great. Kaluma hasn't quite met expectations, but the last couple of games he's turned a corner for sure. Gasson, I mean, about where I'd probably envision him being. Maybe where I kind of hoped he would have been last year, maybe more so. And I think he's maybe meeting that potential of where we saw some of those flashes last year. So, and then, I mean, are we calling Day the fifth? The fifth. I was gonna.
He
didn't start the one game after he got in the fight with the Providence guy.
I was gonna separate him by the starting 5, and then I was gonna go, run down the bench of guys that have seen minutes and the freshmen. So
Day-Day's in my opinion, Day-Day he's exceeded my expectations because we didn't have a baseline for him.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, coming into him, the freshmen, I had baselines for him because I thought, 2 of them for sure I thought were going to be integral parts to the team because I thought they were adding more depth, especially once we signed Quez Glover and Will McNair. I thought Quez Glover filled the Desi Sills role because I was concerned going into the season who was going to be that guy. And, he hasn't played, but Day-Day I thought was going to have a part on the team, and he's exceeded my expectations. Offensively, he's doing well. Maybe not as efficient as I thought. I'd like to see his efficiency numbers, Matt. Let me see his shooting percentage. But defensively, he's a freshman, so it's going to be tough for him to, be up to speed this early in the season. RJ Jones has not met my expectation because I thought he was going to be more of the set shooter, corner guy, run him off of some screens, get him some threes. And I don't know what his 3-point percentage is, but I mean, he doesn't played as much, but he's been all right. And then Michaela Bridge has exceeded my expectations by, leaps and bounds. I thought he was going to be the very raw guy. I thought he was just a more physically strong Taj Manning, in all honesty. But he's not the ball handler, obviously, but he's a go-getter guy. And for a freshman to buy into that go-getter role, especially when you're limited skill-wise handling the ball, to say, hey, young fella, go out there and give me an offensive rebound on this missed free throw. Yes, that is an A+ in my book for Michaela Bridge.
RJ Jones, I was honestly a little surprised seeing this. He's 41% from 3 right now.
I suck.
I thought he was worse because I feel like every time he's shooting a 3, he's missing. But
yeah, I feel the same. Yeah, for the way it looks, he's not draining them, But I mean, the 3-point, he must be
doing it under the radar. He might have padded his stats against Central Arkansas because
but he had
that Miami game and the Providence game. It looked like there were a couple times where it was a tough look.
He had a 4-point play at one point. He hit one right before the end of half in South Dakota, I think. He's made some threes that I can remember. Who's the other guy I wanted at? You said Jarrell Colbert. where's Jarrell Colbert on this team? Should he be playing more?
I like him a lot. I'm a big Jarrell Colbert fan, so I would love to see him more. I think 8 minutes a game is a good starting point for him. I would love to see him have more of a role in matchups where we're going up against bigger guys offensively, where he can get those blocks down low. I love seeing the athleticism when he's blocking that ball. Love Jarrell Colbert. Big fan.
Man, just before from the RJ Jones slander, he has made 9 of 22. He's 9 of 22 shooting for threes this season. He's 9 of 27 overall. So all 9 of his field goal makes have been threes.
Oh, see,
very
that's
interesting.
See, but that is the set 3-point shooter. You know, that is what I expected him to be. I guess when I don't see him from the corner, you know, he's more of that. He's that wing shooter. You know, he's said I get a lot of our threes are coming from that wing. 41%. Would that be a good number through a full season for RJ Jones? I would say probably, yeah. I mean, you would take that pretty much every time, especially for just a set shooter guy. I apologize. I'm going to apologize again. This is my second apology on this one podcast.
Considering the entire team shot less than 40% from the field for the entire USC game, I would say 40% from three would be a great stat through an entire season.
Our best shooter, 3-point shooter last year, taking out Dorian Finney.
Wasn't it Ish?
Was Ish at 41.8%. So, I mean, I'm not saying RJ Jones is going to be that. I do think that if you have a guy who has a consistent shot outside the arc, that is big, especially for a true freshman like that. If you can have somebody come off the bench to be that type of shooter and have some consistency behind it, that's big. I'm sure at the beginning of the season, like the expectation was probably RJ Jones because he was very hyped, but a lot of people didn't remember like Day Ames had some pretty big accolades coming into here. And so we can't consider him, I guess, part of the bench, but there's a couple names out there that have surprised me and have not exceeded expectations. First one's Taj Manning. People have been talking about Taj Manning. He redshirted last season. Jerome Tang has said some really positive things about Taj Manning before this season. And this Central Arkansas game was 25-point gap for a majority of this game. And the first minutes that Taj Manning got in that game was late in the second half. That is crazy to me.
I mean, just think about it, though. He's the exact same prototype as Caleb Rich, and Caleb Rich is better. So why in the world would he ever play?
I know, I understand that. I'm playing your game and thinking, okay, expectation-wise, the beginning of the season, Taj Manning started the USC game.
Yeah.
Like, that at least says, hey, you have something. And then you get to game 6 and he played, I believe, 8 minutes in that game. Something like that. It's crazy to me.
Here's what I'll say about the starting thing at the USC. Okay, put them all the tea leaves together. Kaluma, the buy-in comment, the Naquan knuckleheadness out at Aggieville. This team was doing, and the comment that he made right after the USC game on why he started Taj Manning, he said that he's doing all the right things and he deserved it. I mean, if we're giving out starting roles because you just do the right thing, I think that's kind of telling more about his basketball acumen than it is his, just being a good person.
I'm playing the game.
I know, and I appreciate you playing my game. I had none. I had 0.
My second one is going to be Jarrell Colbert. And a lot of it is he's a guy who redshirted, and my expectations were high enough to where he was going to be playing Will McNair's minutes this season, and that is not happening.
Right.
And so that for me kind of screams, okay, maybe some of the things that were being said about him of how he's developed, and would he, not to say he was going to be a starter, who knows, but he definitely shows flashes of this. I mean, 7 foot tall. And if you have a rim protector, that is very important, but there's also some liabilities with him too, especially like on the offensive side, even in the Central Arkansas game. That being said, I believe he is what is he shooting? I mean, he's averaging 3 points a game, 61%. I mean, 61% is a big guy. I guess that's pretty decent. I don't know, but he's a guy that I maybe expected a little bit more this season. So I'm going to say not meeting expectations.
That's fair.
There we go. And so we've got 7 more games left in the non-conference before we go into Big 12 play. We've already mentioned a couple of the names, but you've got a top 25 Villanova team. You've got LSU at LSU, but that's really the only away game. Every other game is either home or neutral site. You've got Wichita State in Kansas City. You've got Nebraska at home, and then Chicago State. But the rest are kind of PUD, North Alabama, Oral Roberts. For the next 7 games, what is this team's non-conference record? Combining the first 6 games they've already played, where does this team finish out non-conference play when we get to January 1st and we've played all however many games that is, 13 games.
Making me go first, you son of a bitch. Villanova. God, man, it just sucks not having, just give us a timetable, my guy, Tang. Come on. You're the boss, man. I mean, it sucks. But without knowing where Naquan's going to be at, I got Villanova a loss, unfortunately. Which is, I mean, maybe the Bram will have magic and we could pull that one out. But right now, I just don't see us getting. They're basically a blue blood, so it's going to be hard to knock a blue blood off when you're not full health. So that's one loss. Nebraska could get spicy, but I think because that's at home, I think we'll handle business there. Yeah, only one loss. Is that hefty, or is that? I think that's on par. Oral Robert, I think one loss. So what is that? 6, 10 and
that'd be 10 and 3.
10 and 3. I'll go 10 and 3.
All 3 losses to top 25 teams, though.
Well, I don't like that.
I don't like that for Big 12 play. I would say 10 and 3 or 9 and 4. I wouldn't be surprised if we lost both Villanova and one of the 2 against Nebraska or LSU.
I don't see us losing to LSU.
I just don't like the LSU. I don't like the LSU.
I don't like the Nebraska game. That one, but it's at home, so and that's going to be one where the fans are. Are they out on break yet? Oh fuck!
They are. Yeah.
Fuck. That could get. Ugh. How does it's been a long time since I've been to a K-State basketball game. How do the crowds work in December? You know
what? The crowd on Wednesday night, the day before Thanksgiving,
right,
was very solid. And the student section was not very full, but they sell those for GA. But around it was a pretty solid. It was very solid.
You look great on TV.
Thank you. I want to thank my friend Court for letting me sit with him. So here's my thing on the Villanova game. I'm very optimistic, as always. That's going to be a really, really fun environment. I think it's going to be an excellent home environment. And this will be Villanova's first game on the road. And they do have a young team. The Penn game was at the Palestra.
Hold on, that's the first road game that they're going to have?
Technically, the Penn game was a road game, but it was at the Palestra in Philly. So you're going to have, a lot of Villanova. So I'd like to think that this is going to be their first true road game. And I feel optimistic that that's going to be an environment that not just our team excels with, but it also affects Villanova. I'm going to continue to say the LSU game is going to be a little bit of a hiccup because it's on the road. And that was the game at the beginning of the season I thought would be the hiccup for this team. So I can't necessarily change my thought on that because that's also going to be basically our first road environment. So we really need Naquan, I think, back for that one. The Nebraska game will be tough. Nebraska's shown some stuff at 7-0, but I don't think they've played absolutely anybody at this point.
Is this the first Nebraska NCAA tournament team ever?
Well, they've made the NCAA tournament. They've never won a game in the NCAA tournament.
Okay.
Like they've played
3 teams in all of college basketball that have never won a tournament after having made the tournament.
The best team that they've played is like Oregon State.
Let's go Beavs.
Who's not good.
Is Michelle Obama's brother still the head coach there?
No, he's not. So
What
Wayne
the fuck?
Tinkle. Wayne Tinkle.
Wayne Tinkle. Oh, Tinkle.
Yeah.
That's the Montana State guy.
No, that's Sprinkle.
Oh. Shit.
And he's not the coach there anymore. So
Where did he go?
I don't know. I don't keep up with Montana State sports. I keep up with K-State sports.
No, I remember where he went.
What, like Boise State or something? Utah State. He's a
Utah State.
Danny
Utah
Sprinkle. State. Danny Sprinkle.
Yeah.
Fuck me.
So my prediction is going to be, we got how many games left? So I'm going to say 10-3.
You're going 10-3 as well. So you think we take down Villy?
I'm going to say I think that Villanova game,
Dude,
it's going to be an environment. That's a big game, and I mean Arthur Kaluma has played against Villanova too. Like it.
Oh yeah.
We have guys who have played in big games like that, and we've been asking for this type of game in Bramlage for a long time. And I know it's a part of the Big East Challenge. Like it wasn't something necessarily that was scheduled, but my impression is Jerome Tang wants to be playing in these types of games. I mean, you heard the thing about wanting to play Duke, and I'm sure he's pining to play in a big tournament in 2024 , which I would be excited to hear
Duke
what
next
we're going to
year.
be playing in. But, you know, I think this is the type of game that he wants to be playing in Bramlage moving forward. So it's going to be a raucous crowd. I wish I was going to be there for that.
Villanova's schedule is just absolutely filth, dude. I mean, they play UCLA after they play us, and they have, who do they play? They played Memphis. They've played North Carolina. They've played Texas Tech.
Yeah.
They've got a crazy, and after UCLA, they go straight into conference play with Creighton. I mean, it's just nonstop with Villanova.
Kaluma went 2-1. Kaluma went 2-1 against Creighton against Villanova last year at Creighton. He put in the Big East tournament. He put up 18 points, 2 rebounds, and 4 assists.
Okay. It's too bad this game's on a Tuesday. If it was a Saturday, that'd be.
It just goes back to the Big East, Big 12 challenge thing should be played on a single day, like the Big 12 SEC showdown thing over the years. It makes it a lot more fun when you get banner to banner, wall to wall coverage of that on a single day. But thank you for playing my game, Chef. We enjoyed your game as well. We are going to move on to championship week locks.
Are these counting for our whole lock schedule? Because I might have to make some run. I might have to make a run.
No, of course they count.
Bag boy.
Of course they count.
Oh my God, is that a Whole Foods bag?
Yeah, it's the same bag I've used all season. But you've only seen it. This is only the 3rd time you've seen it. So, unlike Andre,
your eye is so creepy in that. I could see it.
He's got pink eye.
Very. Each week, we share our locks for 3 Big 12 matchups, 1 national game of the week, and 1 Sickos game. Last week was the last week of the regular season, obviously. So entering championship week, we will be picking every championship game this weekend to really make things more interesting for our season standings. The season standings so far have Fireball Matt in first place with a 32-31-2 record overall. Chef is in a slight lead in second place with a 28-35-2 record overall. These pushes are really killing me. I'm in last with a 29-36 record overall. Or should I be in second because I have more wins than Chef does? Who knows?
Let's consult the Big 12 office, actually.
We should. We should. But I went 1-4 on the week. Although I'm probably, looking at that now, I think I'm actually in second because Chef has fewer wins than I do. But I was 1-4. Everybody else was 2-3 on the week last week. But for championship week, we get to pick 10 games. So this is going to really throw a wrench into the standings potentially. We're going to start with the Power 5. I'm going to start with the Big 12, the last Big 12 game that the University of Texas Longhorns are going to play as a member of the conference. I'm going to take them minus 13.5 against the Oklahoma State Cowboys. As much as I hate doing that, I'm hoping the reverse jinx will actually go in Oklahoma State's favor, but we'll see. Pac-12, I'm going Washington plus 9.5 versus Oregon to get the season sweep against the Ducks. And they're plus 9.5. I mean, come on, give me Washington all day in that matchup. Michigan in the Big Ten, I'm taking minus 22.5 versus Iowa. Although I don't know how many points are going to get scored in this game, so 22.5 might be really interesting to see if that's even possible. But Michigan, I'm going to take in the victory there. SEC, I'm going Bama plus 5.5 versus the Georgia Bulldogs in Atlanta. Basically a home game for Georgia, but I think Bama's heating up. We'll see. ACC, I'm going to go with the most overrated team in the top 25, the Louisville Cardinals. I'm taking plus 2.5 against the Jordan Travis-less Florida State Seminoles. And then moving on to the G5, in the Fun Belt, I'm taking Troy minus 6.5 against the App State Mountaineers. I don't know what Troy does for, I don't know. You guys interviewed the Troy guy, so I don't know if they've got like a catchy slogan like a Go Cats or, I don't know, Trojans. Cool. They don't do the fight on, do they? I don't think they do. AAC, I'm going with the Green Wave, another friend of ours, the Tulane Green Wave, minus 5.5 versus the shittiest team, most overrated team in the future ACC conference, which is strange that they're going to be an ACC school. I don't care. SMU is irrelevant. Go Green Wave. Conference USA, I'm taking the Liberty Flames, minus 10.5 versus the New Mexico State Aggies, one of the other Aggies. I'm going Liberty there, as much as I hate Jerry Falwell. The MAC, I'm taking the Miami of Ohio team. Red Hawks, what are they? I need my Ohio expert.
Yeah, they are Red Hawks.
They are Red Hawks. I'm taking the Miami of Ohio Red Hawks plus 8.5 against Toledo, which is Matt Campbell's old team.
Yeah, let's go Rockets.
Yeah, the Kareem Hunt's old team. I'm taking Miami. Anyone associated with Matt Campbell's not going to win a conference championship. And then the Mountain West, I'm going UNLV plus 2.5 versus Boise State. This is a home game for UNLV because they use the BCS computer system to determine who's going to be second place in their conference standings. And they eked out second place over, if I know who it was, San Jose State or something. But those are my locks, and I'm sticking.
It was Air Force.
Air Force, yes. The Falcons.
Yep. What a collapse by the Falcons. I mean, that was one of the most abysmal ones ever.
Pretty bad.
All right.
That's not the worst Falcons collapse ever, but
you would know.
Oh, damn. Super Bowl. All right. Am I next? You want me to go next, Matt? Okay. I guess you're in the lead. So I'm going to go. Let's go Big 12 real quick. Let's get in here real tight. Texas. I'm going to take Texas minus 13.5. Man, oh man, do I hate saying that. That stinks. Pac-12, I got Oregon. Oregon, they lost by a field goal on the road to that very Washington team. I think they're just a better team. Washington showed their flaws recently. They've played some real tight games versus some real stinkers. Give me Oregon minus 9.5. That is a big number, though. That is a big number. But I'm going to take it. Iowa, I think they're going to be inspired, baby. I think they're going to be inspired versus those Michigan Wolverines. Jim Harbaugh-less again. I think they just won their Super Bowl versus the Buckeyes.
Harbaugh is definitely on the sideline for that one.
Why would he be on the sideline? He's suspended 3 games.
Yeah, those are over.
No way, Jose. He just got a new one.
What?
He just got a new 3-game suspension. That was the first game was the one versus. No, that was the second one was versus Ohio State. The first one was versus Merlin.
Merlin?
Isn't that who they wasn't that
I
the
thought
first
they
one?
cut
That
it from 3. I thought they cut it from 3 to 2 games, didn't they?
That was his first suspension at the beginning of the year, wasn't it?
Talk about a guy who's
Harbaugh,
been
who
suspended
returns
twice
to
this
sideline.
season.
He's returning. Read the headlines, Chef.
I don't read them headlines. Well, either way, Iowa 22.5. You can't keep it within freaking. Oh my God, they can keep it within 3 tutties. Maybe they can't. I don't know. But I'm going to take Iowa plus 22.5. Georgia. They're on a roll, man. When's the last time Georgia's lost? COVID time? Golly, mister. Minus 5.5. Bama squeaked it out in the Iron Bowl. That is a... Man, I'd rather lose that way than freaking the way... I don't know, maybe not. But that Iron Bowl game was crazy. That was nuts. So give me Georgia minus 5.5. Florida State, they're still a way better team than those Louisville Cardinals. They just got spanked by Kentucky. Give me Florida State without Travis minus 2.5. Let's go. Troy. Gotta go Troy. Right? Let's go. I just want him to, I want him. This is just wishful. Give me Troy minus 6.5. SMU. They're an underrated squad, man. Underrated. I think they're dashing dreams. Both of them 8-0 in conference. Give me SMU plus 5.5. Let's go, baby. Is New Mexico State Is New Mexico State the darling of this football season? I mean, that win over Auburn. Jerry Kill, my boy. Let's go. Seizureless Jerry Kill. Let's go. But we're going to go Liberty. Minus 10.5. They're a really salty bunch. Except when I bet on them and they fucking suck. So yeah. Give me Liberty minus 10.5. Miami of Ohio. That's a touchdown. Man, that's a lot of piggity points. Give me Toledo. Give me the fave. Give me Toledo minus 8.5. Where do they play that? Do they play that in Detroit? I think they play that in Detroit.
No, it's neutral.
It's in Toledo.
No, it's not neutral. It's in Toledo.
Oh, well, then give me Toledo. Come on,
Drive down.
baby.
Drive down. Big rivalry game.
Drive up. And I'm not going anywhere near Toledo to get fucking stabbed. And then UNLV. Those running Rebs are doing some crazy things. Their coach is on, he might be looking around, though. And Boise State, 7-5 and in the conference championship. They only play 8 freaking conference games in these godforsaken conferences. They shouldn't be the favorite, though. The wrong team's favored. Running Rebs, plus 2.5. Let's go.
Wow. That was great. I'm going to run through these real quick. I'm picking Okie State to cover the 13.5, but I think Texas wins. I think Texas will make the college football playoff. Heard it here first. I'm going to take Washington to cover 9.5, but Oregon's going to win. I'm going to take Iowa to cover 22.5. I don't know why I'm doing that to myself, but that defense is elite. Imagine if that offense, if Iowa had a halfway competent offense, they would do some damage. It's crazy to me. Maybe next year. Maybe Will Howard's the Iowan savior. I actually don't wish that on him at all. He needs to go get the bag
you
somewhere
for that.
else.
You don't say that. You're
Okay.
blasphemous.
Georgia gonna cover the 5.5 versus Alabama, and they'll be the 1 seed in the college football playoff. Taking Louisville to upset Florida State because Florida State don't have Jordan Travis, and Louisville is a better team than the Florida Gators that they just beat. Taking Troy, taking Tulane. Chef didn't know SMU's starting quarterback is out for the season, so thank you for that. Liberty, very good team despite their practices. Toledo, the Bolts. Wait, what's Toledo? The Rockets.
Rockets. Let's go.
Yep,
Rock it up.
And then Barry Odom's UNLV running Rebels.
That's who the coach is. He's gone. He
gonna beat up on Boise State. So it should be a fun week and of football.
He could breathe again.
Barry Odom, MIZ.
No.
Was he the head coach there? Yeah. After
Pinkel, right?
Pinkelstein.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah.
Oh, you want to know something weird? Frank Haith is currently an assistant at the University of Texas.
Yeah, he is.
He is recruiting
with Rodney Terry
very well for them right now.
Yeah, he's doing a good job.
It's scary.
Gary Patterson, the new head coach of Houston.
Maybe.
I'd like to see
Jeff
that.
Traylor.
Okay.
Who knows?
Before we end the show, I want to give some props
to me.
I want to just say, K-State women's basketball deserves their praise right now.
Absolutely.
They are 14th, I believe, in the nation right now. From the latest coaches poll. Yep. Another close game playing Iowa last night. They did lose. But that game last night showed something for me, at least. It showed that the Iowa game on the road was not a fluke. That was not a fluke game. And Iowa continues to be ranked in the top 5. This K-State women's team has very much the potential when we start Big 12 play to only have one loss left. And that would be the Iowa game that we just lost. It's been very impressive to watch these ladies. Everybody talks obviously about Ayoka Lee and what she's been able to do. But let me tell you, Gabby Gregory, who was a star last season, has been great. We have some very young talent. Taryn Sides from Phillipsburg. The Glens. This is a very fun team to watch. If anybody's in Manhattan, go to those games and support them. I wish that I lived closer. I'm going to try and make a couple, if they play TCU and whatnot, but they have a big game in St. Joseph against Missouri on December 9th. If you're in the Kansas City area, a big rivalry game against Mizzou.
What is that? Bill Snyder Classic or something they're calling it?
Yep, it is. So, and Missouri has been a good team or at least recently. So I'm serious when I say this. I mean, this team is very much going to be in the title race for the Big 12 this season. It looks like Texas and Baylor are going to be the top 2 right now. Texas is 10th, Baylor's 13th. But we got to give the ladies as much credit as possible, because I think this is going to be the best the best women's basketball team we've had in many, many years, and could easily contend for the title. And in a sport where there isn't a lot of parity, K-State could be a top 10 team, and maybe should be a top 10 team right now.
They have an opportunity right now to be the best women's basketball team in K-State history, and they have an opportunity to be the best women's basketball team in the country. I think, in my opinion, if they can do what they did against the, quote unquote, best player in the country in Caitlin Clark twice within 365 days. And then it took her having 30-point game last night to get over the hump for this last matchup. And again, we're recording this on Monday for those of you who are listening on Thursday. So the game was Sunday night, but yeah, Serena Sundell, Ayoka Lee, the Glenn twins. Gisela Sanchez has also been really good. I've been incredibly impressed by this team. They might be the best basketball squad we have on campus right now. And that's saying a lot for a team that came off of the Elite 8 run that they had on the men's side. So I'm super stoked. I'm excited to watch some women's basketball. I've not historically watched a whole lot of women's basketball, but I'm excited to watch this team. And I've enjoyed watching Aoka Lee the last couple of years, obviously not last year, but 2 years ago. And seeing that this team was as salty as they were last year. I think they were quarterfinals of the NIT, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, they did really well even without Aoka. A lot of the conversation this offseason was, okay, they were good enough as they were last year. They're adding her back into the mix. She's the all-time biggest bucket getter in NCAA women's basketball history in a single game. This team is going to be legit. And they proved it because they also beat North Carolina's top 16 team. So they're proving it against great competition, not just good competition, but great competition. I'm excited to see what they do in Big 12 play when they go up against Texas and Baylor and some of these, and Oklahoma, who's a really, really solid women's team as well.
Yep.
Yeah, the team is they're doing all the things that we thought they could. They're actually living up to the potential, and a lot of the players are, Sundell, that which you mentioned, Gabby Gregory. She's not even into her complete form yet, and she's still putting up relatively good numbers in spots. And a surprise player for me is Ziana Walker. I mean, she's the lockdown defender when on Caitlin Clark in that first game where she absolutely locked her down. She's an athletic guard that can get out on that perimeter and basically lock down any, 3-point shooter that we need to lock down. I mean, it's
only a freshman too.
Yeah. And it's
freshman.
Nuts. It's crazy. She's a good ball handler too. This team is very deep, very long, very competitive, and they have a lot of fight. And I'm surprised from a midi team that, there was some moments where you're like, man, is he going to ever put it together? And you can finally see the vision from what Midi's trying to do. And they're not the only women's team out there. And, the women's volleyball team absolutely shafted. It's a disgrace to those ladies that, it takes a lot to get me to watch volleyball. And when I do, I mean, I'm thoroughly shocked at how much fun they're having and how well they played this season. To not make the NCAA tournament is a crime against humanity. Shout out to the lady volleyball cats, and the volleyball, just where it's grown to is amazing. So women's sports prime right now. Let's go soccer though. Come on. Get on the same level.
Soccer needs to get their act together a little bit and get on the same level, because what Midi's doing, and forgive me, what's the name of the volleyball coach, the new guy, first year?
Jason Mansfield.
What Mansfield and Midi have done, and what Mansfield's done in 1 year, just in the new facility, taking over for Susie Fritz. It's been awesome seeing that. But yeah, man.
Is there a better name for a volleyball arena than the Morgue? Ooh, that is a dirty nickname for an arena. You got to come into the Morgue. Oh God.
Big fan. Well, boys, let's get out of here. For all of us at Cocaine Willie, thank you for listening to the show, watching on YouTube, doing whatever, wherever you're watching it. Do us a favor, if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars, rate the show, leave us a review, whatever. If you're watching on YouTube, like the video, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Tell your friends. Just spread the word. Word of mouth is how I hear about most of the podcasts I listen to. So we would be big fans of you if you would do that. And then follow the show on Twitter or TikTok or Instagram at Cocaine Willie, or follow us individually. I'm at Bob Trollsby. Fireball Matt is at Matt Marchesini, and Chef is at Chef Andre Napier. Chef.
Man, football season's over. It's basketball time. Let's go. Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
We are all Coke and no joke Wildcat country.
Let's ride.
Let's ride.